Hi, welcome. This is the Stella Sora dialogue template, created by R1 Toaster Vadia and I. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're at least vaguely familiar with Stella Sora's very unique visual novel UI style. Now, this isn't a website. It's a PSD file. You will be able to download it in the Google Drive link below. If you're not familiar with Photoshop in any way, that's totally fine. If you don't have it, you're also able to open it in software like Figma, Clip Studio Paint, Affinity, and etc. But for a primarily browser-based and the easiest way to import the file, then I highly recommend Photopea. It's basically just a stripped-down version of Photoshop, but in a browser. All the links will be in the description. Alright, let's start with the assets. You can find most of the official extracted assets like character sprites and backgrounds on the unofficial Stella Sora wiki, so big thanks to them. You can also find other assets such as cutscenes and BGM on there as well. I'll talk more about that later. It's pretty simple. All you need to do is find an asset you want, open this pop-up menu, then click on the download button at the bottom right. Wherever you have that in your file explorer, drag it into the project file. Now that you have all that imported, we will now get started with number 1. The dialog boxes and menu UI. There will be two groups of UI. The folders labeled in green are the basic ones, while the orange folders will be more advanced. You don't really need to touch the menu UI, so you can enable it and hide it as you please. Remember that you can do this for other folders and assets as well, and will be important when you export your images. These ones are pretty straightforward. There are 3 text boxes in total. The normal text box, used by every character, Tyrant's personal text box, and Tyrant's thinking text box. All you have to do is make sure your auto select is enabled, double click on the text, or you can also use the text tool. By opening the dialog boxes folder, you're also able to make the other text boxes visible. Both the female tyrant and male tyrant are in these folders, so you can adjust them as you like. Since each character has a different color ID for the text box background, you're going to have to fetch that yourself. There's no index since we haven't found an efficient way to create one, and there's just way too many characters. So I'll show you a workaround. You're just going to have to import a screenshot from the game of the text box color you desire. Go to the normal text box folder, double click on the color properties, select color overlay, then use the eyedropper tool to select that color. Transitioning onto the more advanced UI, even though it's called advanced, it's actually pretty easy. Firstly, we have the dialog option box, and like you did with the text boxes previously, again, you can edit the text as you want by using the text tool. If you'd like to have the select overlay on, which is used by console or whenever you use the arrow keys, we also added that. Secondly is the CG UI, which is primarily used during cutscenes. We added a default CG so people could see how it looks. I'll enable it right now. And again, just use the text tool to change the dialogue, and use the wiki to find CG backgrounds. Third, we have the dramatic text fade-in, which is, well, used for dramatic moments. Typically dialogue by other characters, but honestly, you can do whatever you want. I mean, that's the whole point of the template. And lastly, we have the scene introduction UI. One thing I wanted to note is that Stella Sora actually has unique names for the calendar. While each of the months differ from their typical names in English, it still uses a 12-month system. I'll put all the names on screen right now. So basically, the Nebula month would be the same as November, or the 11th month on the calendar. You can view most of the information about this on the Stella Sora wiki, which will again be linked below. I just wanted to say that Stella Sora also uses a 24-hour clock, so just remember that. And now for the filters and special effects. I'll start from the most basic to more complex. The film grade, which just changes the atmosphere of the image and is used in flashbacks or memories. It's often paired with the dramatic text fade-in, pretty straightforward. You can enable it and disable it as you wish. Number 2, the cinematic black bars, which are, well, just black bars. If you want dialogue, you can add text at the bottom if you want, as shown in this example right here. Number 3, now, the tension cutaway. Alright, this is where I'm going to show you guys how to use clipping masks. This will also be really useful for the next few assets I'll be showcasing. You'll need 2 layers for this to work. For example, we have the base layer, which is this black rectangle layer. Then the layer you'd like to clip, which is going to be the Tyrant Sprite. What you're going to do is right click on the Tyrant Sprite layer in the layers panel, find create clipping mask, and now she'll be inside the box. What this does is make the base layer basically a border to whatever the content is clipped inside of it. It will already be clipped in by default when you download the PSD, but if you want to put another character in there, then use the same method. Okay, so the mood boxes. Again, we'll be utilizing clipping masks here. The default backgrounds for moods can be found on the wiki. Again, just search the query file :bg mood and they will pop up. Download your desired background, size it as you like, then right click on the background layer and select clipping mask.
Import to character sprite.
Then press L to use the polygonal lasso tool. You can open this menu by holding on it with left click. Finally, for the basic cutaway. Import 2 backgrounds of your choice into the PSD and move the layers below the white line. Move the background layer you prefer into the cutaway or towards the left, and using the polygonal lasso tool, cut off the chunk of the background that's outside of the cutaway. And if you'd like to put sprites on either side, then adjust the locations and cut off anything that crosses over the cutaway line. But yeah, that's it for now. You might have noticed that there's still a few more assets in UI to be made. This is the first version of the template. We plan on improving the template even more in the future, such as making the choice boxes, Heartlink UI, emotes, and a lot more to come. Big thank you to R1 Toaster for working with me. This was a really fun project to work on. Stay tuned for future updates. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Goodbye.